Alrighty, so I started off with a piece of white cardstock as my card front, and for this card I had decided to use up as many of the scraps as I could from my basic gray Kioshi 6x6 pack. I had all these random different pieces, and I've done a card like this before, so I just kind of trimmed them all into different little strips and just chose patterns at random. There was no rhyme or reason to any of it. I cut them at different lengths, different widths, just left them as is, and just kept doing that until I got enough to kind of create that base that you can see there. Once I felt like I had enough of the pieces, I started adhering them to the white cardstock, and I just used my Scotch ATG gun to do that. Again, no rhyme or reason, I just put them down how I saw fit and made sure all the spaces were filled. Super quick and easy. A card like this takes no time at all because there isn't really a layout to follow or anything. You just do whatever works for you and whatever looks nice. So once I had almost all of them adhered down, I noticed I still had a few spots, so I trimmed a couple more scraps of cardstock and got those all in place. And then once I was done with all of that, I was ready to go on and finish the rest of the card. Like the title of the video said, this is featuring my new All About You stamp set. So I knew I wanted that to be like the main feature of the card, like no images or anything, just the sentiments. So I used, I took another scrap of white cardstock, and then this time I'm using just the All About You set. So the sentiment is going to be the main focus of the card. And that die there is from the Spellbinders Labels 4 set, and if you've read my blog for a while, you know this is like my go-to die for everything. So I've got the die laid out on the cardstock, and since it's a scrap, the die has to go diagonally, so I'm just kind of getting everything laid out how I want it to make sure it all fits. And I'm using Memento ink, one of the new colors that I got. So I inked up the U in the purple ink and then stamped that in the center, just like so. And now that I've got that down, I'm adding the two little companion sentiments that go with it. And this one says, "What would I do without?" And I inked that up just in the tuxedo black Memento ink and stamped that kind of on an angle over it just for something different. And then the little question mark, which is also from the set, stamped that in black as well. And then I made sure I lined up my die properly so that the sentiment was centered, and then I just used a couple pieces of tape to adhere the die down so it doesn't shift when it's being cut. And then I ran that through my die cut machine. So once that was done, I laid that on my card front and then started fiddling around with different embellishments. I just used one of those little snack size Ziploc bags to dump all my basic gray, like the buttons and the brads and everything that come with or that you can buy that go with the collections. That way they're all in one spot and I can just dig through and find what I need. So I laid out a Prima flower for my stash and several buttons. And then to finish it off, I started by just adhering down the die cut sentiment area, and then I put the Prima and the button where I wanted it. And I decided to use some of my new, this is the AmyR Memory Keeper So Easy embroidery floss. And I noticed when I opened it, it's so soft. It is way softer than any of the other embroidery floss I use. I don't know, it's got a really silky feel to it. It was really nice. So I laid the Prima and the button down, pierced the holes for the embroidery floss to be drawn through, and then just sewed the button onto the card, leaving the ends out on the front because I wanted to tie them into a bow. I just thought that'd be kind of a cute little touch. So I fiddled with that a bit, and then I used my sharp ribbon scissors to cut the ends of the embroidery floss. Just an FYI, you do need really sharp scissors to cut this stuff because it's so soft. If scissors are dull, they're just not going to cut it very well, or you'll just end up with like jagged ends. It looks gross. So then on the rest of the card, I just placed buttons in kind of a random area. Like I said, I was trying to use up all these pattern papers, so I wanted to use up as many embellishments as well. So I took a bunch of buttons and same thing, laid them out where I wanted them, paper pieced them, sewed them onto the card, and these ones I just tied it off behind the card front where it won't be seen once the card is glued together. So I did that several times for each little section of buttons. Sewed them on, and then once that was done, I knew I wanted a craft base, and then I decided to mat the white with some black cardstock to make it stand out even more and kind of tie in all that black embroidery thread I used. So I got that adhered, and then I'm using my Score Buddy to score the craft card base, and then again I'm going to adhere down the card front, and that will be it for the front of the card. Okay, and now on to the inside of the card. I decided to keep it really simple. I had a couple pieces of the pattern paper left that were still large enough to line an interior of a card, so I trimmed that one down, and then I matted that again with some black cardstock just to tie it into the front, and adhered those together. And then last but not least, I die cut a piece of white cardstock using another of the Labels 4 dies just for somewhere to write something to the card recipient. So once I got that die cut, I adhered that to the inside of the card, and then adhered that entire piece inside the card, and that was it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!